And now, ladies and gentlemen, live in Las Vegas, the one and only Red Foxx.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I noticed some of you didn't applaud. I hope your dog dies. That's right. This is Las Vegas, Nevada, friends. You might as well relax because your old phony neighbors aren't here. And when you get home, lie to them. Tell them you won $50,000 or $60,000. They'll worry to death. They'll look out the window every day then see what you bought. Here they come now. You know them old jive neighbors. It's funny how people are. I see you laying out by the pools trying to get this brown. I'm in the room with the shade down. My name is Foxx. F-O-X-X. And I don't belong to no group. Every time people see X, they think you belong to a group. Was Francis X. Bushman a Muslim? Muslim, I don't join no group, especially those that don't eat pork. There's some pork eaters going to heaven too. That's right, what did a hog ever do to you? So don't be for the hog. Don't be for the hog, we'd be swimming in slop tonight. Been a lot of slop since the year of one. Think about that. That's right, a group of slop has been exchanged. Somebody got to eat it. Takes a lot of heart to eat slop. Let's give those hogs a hand when you get a chance. I mean it. Hey, some people won't eat a pig snoot because they look at it as a snoot. But I don't. I just say, oh, there's 2 holes in the meat. I see you laughing in your hand. I noticed everybody. I wanted to be a politician, but I just couldn't take stuff from folks. I wanted to be president. I dreamed of it as a youngster. I could see it. Red Foxx, President of the United States, sitting there in the Black House. Don't laugh. When you're president, you can paint like you want to. They have a lot of different sneezes. They have the chocolate sneeze, sounds like this. Hershey! Then they have the inquisitive sneeze. Who is she? Then they have the barnyard sneeze. Horse! I guess you never lived on a farm, huh? Don't you remember corn cobs? Yes, everybody in the country used to live in a big house, and out from the big house, they had a little shed. Called that the shed house. My brother's in the shed house one day, and he had a long pole, and he was digging down into, he was trying to reach it far. I said, what you doing digging down in there? He said, I dropped my coat down there. I said, you don't want that old coat now, do you? He said, no, damn the coat, my lunch is in the pocket. I'm here to tell you folks, it's hard to beat that saran wrap. No, and in the corner of the shed house, they usually had a bushel full of corn cobs. This was 100 years before Z. No, really, corn cobs. We had them in Tennessee, brown ones and white ones. Use a brown one, then use a white one and see if you need another brown one. Could you, that's it, don't choke yourself, just laugh right out. To hell with your neighbors, they're not gonna die for you, so why let them tell you when you can laugh? A lot of people come out with friends and they won't know, how can you sit up your prude crock? That's what I say, you got to live your own life. You ever been to a funeral and hear them old ladies lie? So, oh, a guy be laying in the coffin, an old lady walk up the coffin and said, oh Lord, don't take him, take me. Why didn't she say that when he was just sick? Bunch of lies. If the Lord bust the ceiling of that church open and said, all right, darling, come right on. Say, wait a minute, I got to explain to you. Wait a minute. No, nobody want to leave here. I've heard some people say, I don't want to get old and get in folks' way. I do. If I'm in your way, move me. Did you ever meet Wilter Stilt? You got to meet him. It's unbelievable. I stood up to shake his hand and looked him right in the zipper. Too bad girls aren't that tall, would make dancing better. Those dances those youngsters do now is something. Hey, baby. We used to do that years ago, laying down. Oh, I want to talk about my wife now. Most comics talk about their wife, but this is the truth. I'm married to an ugly woman, ex-ugly woman, because she had plastic surgery. And it's a wonderful thing, this plastic surgery. It's a marvelous art, really. So many people have begun to lift all over. They just lift everything. My old lady had her face lifted so many times, ain't much meat left in her shoes. Well, some people can't be helped, though. You take the case of my wife's mother. Her face was so bad, instead of having her face lifted, they lowered her body. And then she had a little bit of work done on her nose. They put it in the middle of her face. I think sometimes, though, that she goes a little too far. Last week, she had her warts bronzed. And she got a mouth on her, baby. I mean, my mother-in-law got a mouth on her. And they try to do something with it, and when she smiles, she got lipstick on her ears. She's the only woman on earth can swallow a banana sideways. Actually, she's had her face lifted so many times, there's hardly any meat left anywhere on her body. You know, it was a fella once, he wanted to marry a young girl, and he went to a plastic surgeon to have some of the wrinkles removed from his face. The plastic surgeon said, well, the only thing I can do is lift all your loose meat up to the top of your head and tie it in a ponytail. So he said, well, is that all you can do, Doc? He said, well, that's okay. I got plenty of money. I'm a millionaire. He said, go ahead and lift it up. So Doc put on his gloves and put some sorghum on his gloves and lift this guy's loose meat all the way up to the top of his head and tied it in a ponytail. And he put his hat on. His face was smooth, but he had a hat jammed with meat. And he went around to his fiance's house, and he rang the bell, and she came to the door, and she recognized him somehow. She said, oh, my goodness, Bill, I never noticed that dimple in your chin. He said, dimple? Hell, that's my navel. He said, if you want a real surprise, open up my shirt collar. Well, sir, it's just fate. You never know how things is going to happen for you. A friend of mine once was in a fire, and he had both of his eyebrows burned off. And he went to a plastic surgeon and said, you look weird. You know, the surgeon said, well, you come right in. He said, well, look, Doc, he said, my eyebrows were burned off, and I want to know if there's anything you can do. Doc said, well, look, I can do something for you, but it's only one thing, one kind of hair that I can replace up there that will give you that same stiff look. He said, I'll have to take some of the virgin hairs from the hind leg of a Cocker Spaniel and put them up there in your eyebrows. So he said, well, okay, Doc. So he came around in about a week and had his operation. Doc transplanted some virgin hairs from a Cocker Spaniel's hind legs. And this guy felt so good, he looked in the mirror with his new eyebrows. But the only trouble, every time he passed by a fire hydrant, he looked surprised. I want you to know what insecurity is, friends. Insecurity is having a wife who drives a car, wearing a pair of jockey shorts that are knotted. Insecurity is knowing that you have to cough after a heavy dose of X-Lax. Insecurity is the thought of a guy approaching your sandcastle. Big fella, too, kick sand in your eyes. Insecurity is a rectal thermometer. You know what they call a guy who don't believe in birth control? Daddy. Daddy. It's a big difference in Florida oranges and California oranges. You get a Florida orange and a California orange and bite into each one of them, and the one that sucks back's from California. I don't feel too good this morning. Just received some very bad news from the War Department. My youngest brother was shot in the canal zone, and you know how that hurts. He was shot coming out the window at the PX in St. Louis. My name is Red Fox. In Spanish, that's Zorro Rojo. In French, it's Renault Rouge. In Japanese, it's Akai Kitsune. In Chinese, it's Hongwu Li. In Greek, it's coquini alapu. In Italian, it's volperosa. In Jewish, it's Reuter Foxx. In Apache, it's Klitu. And in Russian, it's Runovich, you son of a bitch. In Mississippi, it's mud. We'll drink a toast to the cherry. Here's to the cherry, it's like a balloon, one prick and boom. Every year in California, we lead the nation in automobile deaths. Don't come out there trying to live, we'll run over your ass. We're not gonna lose our championship because you wanna live. Do like the rest of us, get out there and get drunk and get on the highway and get somebody. We get behind in our quota, we run up on the safety zone and scrape a sucker off. They got a car out there now with a glass bottom, so when you hit somebody, you can look down and see if you know them. A lot of things worse than cancer. I've been smoking 31 years, and then they decide to put this warning on the side of the pack. Dig it. Caution, cigarette smoking may be hazardous to your health. 31 years I smoked before they put that on there. Hell, if I don't have cancer now, I probably have something that will eat it up. They might have to come to me to find the cure. Oh, hell, he said. I hope your dog dies. I'm only serious. What, sir? Don't speak too clear, does he? Probably a war veteran. You know, we couldn't get parts for all of them's head. I was in the service, shot in the face. I remember once there was two whacks taking a shower, and one whack asked the other whack, said, how'd your navel get so large, honey? And this sort of irritated the other whack. She said, well, tomorrow you try carrying the flag. Just one of the things. I should have been in the movies. They offered me a role in an all-Negro Western, and I didn't want that. I'm not gonna hurt my people just to be in the movies. I don't want to get killed in my first pitch anyway, because that's what was happening if I'd have took that part in an all-Negro Western. So I knew if it was all-Negro Western, it was gonna be the first time the Indians won. I was tempted to take the role, though, because I liked the title of the picture, Ride, Mother, Ride. God damn, that was good. Here's two spook cats talking. I hope none of my people get offended when I say spook. I'd rather be called a spook than the big N. These two spook cats talking. One cat said, hey, Joe, did you hear about what's his name? Other cat said, of course I have. What about him? He said, well, what about who? He said, what about, what's his name? He said, what's his name? I heard he came home from a thingamajig one night and from someplace and married old, you know the other fella's sister? He said, yeah, didn't you hear about it before? He said, yeah, I heard about it, but I didn't get no details until I talked to you. See, I was playing Keno outside, and a guy was sitting there, and he's playing Keno, and the waitress walked over, and she had this low-cut dress on, cut so low it would make a baby cry. And he looked up at her, he said, you know, baby, he said, I sure would like to get in your pants. She said, well, go ahead, there's one ass in there already. Well, 75% of the women with breast cancer have attributed to men who smoke. Well, if my mother knew I was in show business now, she would worry herself just sick. She thinks I'm in Philadelphia selling dope. Here's another proverb from the lips of one of the great people that were in the world years ago, Omar Chung. If you get Omar Chung, it was some cat named Omar Chung. You don't know him. It was a cat named Rufus Wilson that wrote one of the great pieces of poetry that we had in school. Old Mother Hubbard went to the cupboard to get her poor, hungry, starving dog a bone. And when she got there, the cupboard was bare, and the poor, hungry, starving dog bit her in the ass. They don't write like that no more. I was laying in bed one night. I was trying to get some FM on the stereo. FM was stolen from Negroes, and they switched the initials. But you know that belongs to us. If you don't believe it, make one of us mad. See, don't you be one of them first. Who's that laugh like that? I heard that sound in a motel one night. Then he was a guy out to the cemetery, white fella, and he was watching this Chinese guy putting a whole lot of food on his friend's grave. So the white fella looked at the Chinese guy and said, when do you expect your friend to come up and eat all that food? The Chinese fella said, same time your friend come up and smell them flowers. Don't underestimate the people. And friends, with all the Chinese in the world, 800 million of them, you better try egg foo young in the morning. Just try to get, just in case. No kidding, they can build a human bridge over here. And they don't care about dying like a lot of y'all do. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. Isn't that dumb? Old lady told me, you ought to be ashamed talking about the handicapped. You're not going to heaven. I said, you want to go old bat? Walk out there in front of one of them big trucks. You'll be there for 6:30 in the morning. I ain't ready to go nowhere myself. I do like all the rest of old folks. Wait till you get old and get ready to give it up. Then straighten up. Suck a party till they get 90 years old. And he said, oh, Lord, why you do that? Up your old bucket, you. Here's a story. I know you're not going to laugh at it, but I'm going to tell it anyhow. I don't give a damn. There's a millionaire went to the movie because there was a good picture playing, so the place was crowded. And he just did make it inside, so he walked over to one of the ushers. He said, listen, if you can get me up front. He said, you know me. He had a big name millionaire. He said, you know me. And the usher recognized him. He said, yes, I know you. He said, well, if you get me a seat up front, I'll give you a substantial tip. So the guy maneuvered and he went down front and checked and finally came back, got the millionaire and brought him down to a nice front seat. He said, I'm glad you got me a good seat because this is the only way I can enjoy a movie is sitting up close, especially one of these mystery stories. So he tipped the usher, he handed him $1. And the usher looked at him. And he leaned down and whispered in the millionaire's ear, the butler did it. But I'm a veteran myself. Hero in World War II. I didn't want to mention it, but I was a hero. The examination is worse than the fighting. No kidding, the doctor walked over to me and leaned down. I thought he dropped his pen, but he didn't. He grabbed me. Know what I mean, fellas? He grabbed me and said, cough. I said, cough? I can't even breathe. He had a grip like Willie Mays and Mickey Mantle. In fact, I think he was a ball player. Was a queer walking down the street, had a midget tucked under his arm, and he ran into another queer. He said, look, would you like a drag off of this before I throw it away? There was a guy who was walking down the street, and two guys dragged him in the alley, and they beat him so bad, they mugged him, they had him around the throat, and just whipped him bad. And this guy fought back, he fought, and he knocked two of them down. He got back up, and they knocked him down, choked him some more, stepped on him, kicked him, and then finally, they took his money, 67 cents. He said, man, you fought this hard for 67 cents? He said, no, I thought y'all left that $500 in my shoe. Guy went to a party New Year's Eve, and he got drunk. He put the lampshade on his head. He blew the whistle. He dumped food in people's laps, spilled drinks. And the next morning, he asked his wife, he said, did I make a fool out of myself, dear? She said, did you make a fool out of yourself? She said, you cussed your boss out. He said, I'll screw him. She said, I did. You go back to work Monday. Kid ran in the house and said, Mother, I'm 14 now and I want a brassiere. His mother said, shut up, Ralph. I saw her snatch her suitcase from the closet. I held her but a moment in the rain. I kissed her as she started for the depot to see her brother jack off the train. Lady went in the hardware store. She said, pardon me, sir, I'm building some things at home and I want to know if you have brass nuts. He said, no, miss, I just walk like this. Questions. Why does an ocean roar? Hell, you'd roar too if you had that many crabs on your bottom. Why is the fire engine red? If you had your hose stretched that far, you'd be red too. What's the difference between a mosquito and a fly? You can't sew a zipper on a mosquito. It was a Frenchman. He was sleepy. And as soon as his feet hit the pillow, he was sound asleep. I like women over 40. They don't yell, they don't tell, they don't swell, and they grateful as hell. They had a lady sheriff in Texas, had the biggest posse America's ever known. They had pictures of her posse at the museum. Now, I've seen some posses in my day, but she had the biggest posse I've ever seen in my life. Big, mean-looking posse. You've seen them. Maybe you rode in one. Old lady came here signified last night just because I talked about a girl I used to go with, had a hump in her back. I wasn't making fun. I used to go with her. I didn't see the hump. Hump didn't make no difference to me. It was like Claudia and David, Enchanted Cottage. I loved her, that big hump and all. We broke up though finally. She was supposed to meet me down at the beach and I had the hole dug and she didn't show up. See how they laughing? They didn't want each other to know. They would both laugh at that. Hire the Handicapped. They're fun to watch. You have to watch them suckers. Might as well laugh out loud because the Handicapped talk about you when you pass by. They do. I've heard them in a wheelchair say, you good walking bastard. It was a fella out at Disneyland. No kidding, fella out at Disneyland had an epileptic fit and 3 kids jumped on his back, thought he was a new ride. Threw me off twice. I don't like the Ferris wheel. I don't fool around no Ferris, especially in a wheel. You know, 2 guys came in here last night, looked strange. I thought it was something with those fur shoes on. And the purple suit. It was a guy's, no, I'm gonna tell you this first. These 2 guys, one guy said, I don't want to go in there because when they see I'm pregnant, they'll laugh. The other guy said, pregnant, whose is it? He said, how should I know? I don't have no eyes in the back of my head. This guy walked in a bar one night, and there was a fella sitting there with a funny-looking suit on, you know, with lace around the lapels, lace coming out the cuff, and lace on his cuffs down on his pants, and a big jeweled buckle belt. The fella walked over and said, man, what you wearing them funny-looking clothes like that for? He said, well, it's all a mistake. I sent my wife downtown to Sears Roebuck. He sent her down to Sears just to get me a seersucker suit. And she went to the wrong store. She went to Cox department store. And good evening. Chinese? Ne hao ma. I speak all that. Are you kidding me? I was in Mexico 3 months. I was doing 90 days. You figure it out. But you know, the world has gone electric. Have you noticed that? Electric dryers, electric stoves, electric kitchens, electric can openers, everything electric. Boy, pretty soon everything will be electric. Can you imagine sitting there on a big, fine, soft chair trying to pass some electric? Have a little poem. It's not a poem, really. It's a saying, a true saying. If you can see the handwriting on the wall, you're in the toilet. That'll keep me off TV. Some good poetry in the world. What happened to Hemingway and Tennessee Williams? Those fellas that wrote poetry. When I was a kid in school, they were teaching us filth. Little boy blue, come blow your horn. Hey, you break your neck trying to blow your horn. Well, 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 my pussy fell in the well. My brother was 15 when he got drowned looking for it. I'm one of triplets, 3 boys born 45 minutes apart. My dad came to the hospital, came upstairs from maternity ward, looked in the window and saw his 3 boys laying there. He looked at my mother, he said, Mary, you pick out the one you want, because I'm going to drown them other 2. That's how I learned how to swim. I didn't mind the swim was getting out that bag full of cats. Expecting mothers look so good today. When I was a youngster, they looked terrible. They wore those dresses that button up the front, and every month they'd leave a button open. And pretty soon there it was. You. But today, young expectant mothers have shops to go in and buy their maternity frocks. Fella in New York tonight's a millionaire because he designed the first frock for an expectant mother. And they sell more of these frocks in New York City than any other city in the United States. The fellas that sell these frocks to expectant mothers are called mother frockers. And like I said, there are more mother frockers in New York than any other city in the Union. But next month, they open up a champagne plant here in Las Vegas because concentrated here in Las Vegas, a particular type of worker that they need in the making of a great champagne product. You need champagne, a bottle, a cork, and a label. And out of these 4 items, the cork is the most important because the cork holds the champagne in the bottle, and that's where your money is. And you know how hard it is to get that cork out of the bottle. You have to squeeze that cork and pull it and twist and bend it, and pretty soon that cork will pop. And when it pops, that cork swells. Swells so big you can't get it back in the bottle. That cork swells because it's been soaked in a special solution to make it swell. And the fellas that soak this cork are called cork soakers. And the reason why they open up here in Las Vegas is because there are more cork soakers coming here to Las Vegas than anywhere else on earth. And next month, the mother frockers of New York are coming out here to hold their first convention. They're going to combine forces with the cork soakers of Las Vegas. Now, friends, you want to have some fun, get your tickets early. Tickets only 69 cents. Get your ticket and come on out with us, and I'll bet you never see that many drunken mother frockers or cork soakers in your whole entire life. I'll see you here June 8th. Thank you very much. Until next time we meet, I leave you with this thought. I only meant to bring some happiness into your life, my way, the only way I knew, the jokes I knew, the type of stuff I've been doing my entire life before I even met you, because it's a lot of color joints. It's a lot of color joints. But it has been a pleasure, and I hope no one here has really been offended. If you're up this time of morning, you shouldn't be that type of person that will be offended by what I've said. If you are, up your daytime crop. That's right, and blow it out your... That's what I mean, dear. Nice integrated couple, look like my parents. To hell with people. Live your life. Anybody bugs you, you let me know. We get a crowd and march around their goddamn drinks. Good morning and thank you very much. I'll see you next time. Don't forget the name Foxx. F-U-S... wait a minute. Night, night.